Welcome to the Power of Your Mind podcast. I'm Victoria Gallagher, your host. Have you been attempting to use law of attraction or hypnosis to attract financial abundance, a soulmate, or career success? Would you like to be happy, motivated, and successful? Have better health, enjoy more fulfilling relationships, overcome struggle, and gain mastery over your life? Then join me on this amazing self-help podcast where you'll unleash the power of your mind. I'll be sharing 20 years of wisdom and techniques of hypnotherapy, law of attraction, visualization, meditation, personal growth, positive affirmations, and other effective methods to help you tap into the great power which resides in your mind and become the best version of yourself. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Power of Your Mind podcast. You're listening to episode number 72. I'm Victoria Gallagher, Law of Attraction coach and #1 best-selling author of Practical Law of Attraction. Align yourself with the manifesting conditions and successfully attract your desires. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, founder of hypnotic.com, HypnoCloud apps. So be sure to stop by hypnotic.com and sign up for your free self-hypnosis video training course. And for our listeners who found us through Power of Your Mind podcast, you can get 35% off your first order of hypnosis downloads when you apply the code podcast to your shopping cart. And finally, you can download our latest app in the iTunes store called HypnoCloud. So today I have a very special guest with me, Jonathan Royle, or is it Alex William Smith? We'll find out in just a moment. So he works as a comedy stage hypnotist and a psychological entertainer and mind reader and entertaining psychic, and also is an established, successful celebrity life and business success coach. He works a lot with people with NLP, hypnotherapy, and complete mind therapy skills, and is regarded by many as one of the world's leading authorities and teachers of all things hypnotic and NLP. So welcome to the show.
Hi, Victoria. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being here. And so that's my first question for you, because today, just for our guests, to kind of give you a context of the way things work around here, you get your intention clear that you're going to do a show, Power of the Mind podcast. You have a guest that fails to show up. You make a post. This is the power of social media. You make a post, and literally 3 minutes later, you've got a guest. And so I just really want to thank Jonathan for stepping up to the plate. But Jonathan didn't reply to that with his Jonathan profile. He replied to it with his Alex William Smith profile. So I wanted to, because I'm not really familiar with the backstory on that, just kind of wanted to have you fill us in on that.
Well, the dead rapid answer to that is that on the internet, there's a lot of hysteria on one level. I suppose on another level, urban myths regarding this person, Jonathan Royle, the hypnotist.
Okay.
And Jonathan Royle is a character. By birth, I am Alex William Smith. I originally set up my social media accounts years ago as Jonathan Royle because it made life easier because of the business. But certain people who've got the knife in for me, who are jealous of success I've had, made reports to Facebook saying he's not called Jonathan Royle. Now, if you look at your terms and conditions, you have to use what name's registered on your legal documents, unless it's a business page.
Yes.
Now, I'm not going to name people, but there's people in our industry whose names they use are not their birth names, who have got existing. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to drop them in it, because I mean them no harm. But they've not been reported. I was, and obviously I couldn't prove I was born as Jonathan Royle. So my profile got shut down, and that's why now it says Alex William Smith, but in brackets underneath, known as Jonathan Royle.
Okay.
Because I'm just abiding by social media rules. But in truth, 99% of people who know me, including family members, now call me Jonathan Royle. I just haven't gone to DPOL and got it legally changed on paperwork because I've nothing to prove one way or the other, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you for clearing that up. I really appreciate that. So, you're more known, would you say, for the stage hypnosis or for the therapeutic side, or I mean, which,
It depends. It depends where you are in the world and how old you are in this planetary body, rather than how old you are in your mind, because we know those are two very different things sometimes. In the 90s, in the early to mid to late 90s, certainly in England, Europe, mainly England, Europe, I was without a doubt known then under a different stage name, in fairness, which was Alex Leroy, as the most outrageous, controversial stage hypnotist on the planet.
Oh, wow. You gotta tell me about that. Most outrageous,
well, that still haunts me a bit. Yeah, I mean, that still haunts me a bit, because looking back, you've got to bear in mind that in 1993, January 1993, I was still only 17 years old then. So I do look back and I do have some regrets of the things that I did with youth and immaturity and too much ego. And I was doing really well in the world of stage hypnosis, making a lot of money. And I was 17 and, well, I did what pretty much any 17-year-old who didn't understand at the time what lots of money every night of the week was. And did get involved in going to parties. I don't know how graphic I should get, but yeah, I mean, you can fill in the blanks. Drugs, alcohol.
Yeah, so you went kind of down a dark path.
Yeah. And the show that I was doing at the time, I got held up as being this Mr. Most Outrageous Hypnotist, and I was. However, here's the irony. We're now in 2019, and I look at videos of what I did in 1990, 91, 92, 93, and at the time they would be considered obscene. On British television, they would not, even though there wasn't nudity, they would not have been allowed to be shown until after 9 o'clock, the watershed. Now in 2019, there is stuff that makes what I did then look tame.
Really?
On television at normal times of the day.
So give me some specifics. So what are some of the things that you did back then that you would consider as controversial, outrageous on stage?
Well, back then they were. Now I wouldn't. And now every stage hypnotist on the planet has done these kind of routines. I'm not saying they stole them from me, because the truth is that I got them from various stage hypnotists who were mentors of mine and stuff that had been going years before, including a guy called Delavar, who is the only stage hypnotist I know of, certainly in England, whose parents and grandparents were stage hypnotists, going back to the time when it was called mesmerism.
Yes.
So we're going back that far. But I was doing stuff in like 1992 where men were giving birth to babies, women are having orgasms, they're simulating oral sex on me on stage. Yes, I was in rugby clubs and stuff, and getting men to get the kit off. But these are things that are now actually pretty commonplace and very tame.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't honestly evolve I've been to stage shows in Vegas, and my internet connection is showing me unstable. So if we get cut off, we might need to do something, but it's better now. But you're telling, I've been to stage shows in Vegas, and I've heard of things happening in very similar to that these days. So you're not really saying anything that that isn't done today.
No, exactly. Now you've got like Anthony Cools and Kevin Lepine out there doing great shows. I saw them both when I was last out in Vegas, and you've got people having sex on stage with chairs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the slight difference is I was having them simulating sex with another member of the public.
Right.
So it was a bit further, but still, nonetheless, in this day and age, that's not bad.
Right.
But back in 1992, that was seen as real. And the way the press wrote it up, the national press wrote it up, and the way they wrote it up gave the reader the impression these people were naked and having real sex. They weren't.
Right. Wow.
But the media lie to sell newspapers.
So that kind of ties into what one of my questions was going to be. And being a hypnotist myself for the last 21 years, I know how this stuff works, but there's a lot of misconceptions out there when it comes to stage hypnosis. I was just in a stage hypnosis show at the Mid-America Hypnosis Conference, and it was pretty lighthearted. It was funny. But you do things, obviously, that you would not normally do on stage in front of a large group of people. I mean, just not as an ordinary thing that you do. And so what is it, can you share with the audience? Like tell us, like, what is it that causes a person to, let's just say, kind of lose their inhibitions a little bit? You know, you're not drunk, you haven't had anything to drink, no one has any control over you, you're perfectly aware of what's happening the whole time, but the audience believes that you've completely lost your mind and you've lost control. So how do you explain that to a person?
Okay, well, slightly controversially, no offence intended to you, Victoria, and the truth is that consciously you may believe what you've just said to me. So I'm not saying you're a liar. Let's make that very clear.
Okay.
But there's a wonderful psychological principle called cognitive dissonance, where if something consciously will be too difficult to handle or admit, we come up with excuses and reasons and beliefs that we will totally stand by to the point of, laying down our lives sometimes. They use this as manipulation tool in the military to get people to go out there and kill and defend. Fundamentalist, religious people do this. So there's that principle there. So bear that in mind. So I'm not on any level saying you're lying. You may truly believe what you're saying. I'm sure you do. But this is how I sum up stage hypnosis.
Okay.
There's only one of a few things happens with stage hypnosis. Either the volunteers take part and they end up genuinely believing they've been hypnotized. Okay? Well, if they genuinely end up believing they've been hypnotized, then at the end of the show, one of two things happens. Either A, they walk away and they say, I can remember what I did, but I couldn't stop myself from doing it.
Okay.
Or they go, I can't remember what I did. What did I do? And they're asking their friends. Now, both of them have the same emotional underlying thing, attention, because they've enjoyed the applause and laughter on stage. So if they say, I can remember, but I couldn't stop myself, that means, wasn't I good on stage? But you can't blame me for making an idiot of myself because the hypnotist made me do it. But I want you to talk about me more and praise me up. If they say, I can't remember, what did I do? The truth is, deep down, they know what they did, but they're trying to remove the blame from themselves for making an idiot of themselves.
Right.
Both are a win-win. Or the other situation is the person doesn't believe they were hypnotized and they were doing it because they wanted to be the center of attention. Either way, they all come down to one thing. Hypnosis does not exist in the way 99% of stage hypnotists or hypnotherapists will tell you. All hypnosis is, on stage, is an excuse for the volunteer to have all blame removed from themselves and feel safe to make an idiot of themselves and be able to blame it on the hypnotist. And in therapy, hypnosis doesn't bloody exist. All a hypnotherapist does is provide a safe environment for somebody And the only time it will ever work is when that person's truly ready for change, but they need to make a commitment. So, you see, if they suddenly woke up in the morning and went, right, I'm not smoking anymore, or I'm not drinking, or I'm not taking the drugs, and they went out, over the course of the day and the week, they'd bump into family and friends who'd go, Dave, assuming that was the name, we notice you've not had a cigarette, you haven't been drinking, you haven't gone off for drugs, or whatever. What's happened? And what's Dave got to do? He's got to go, well, I decided to stop. And the thing is, in an ideal world, people will go, well done, Dave, excellent, well done. And that's the world we should live in. Sadly, we don't.
Yeah.
What would happen is a large number of those people would go, why didn't you do that before, you silly idiot? and he'd end up feeling bad for not having done it. So rather than them feeling bad, he'd end up relapsing and going back to it so we could go, oh, look, it wasn't that easy. But if Dave goes to a therapist and invests financial money and time, then walks away, and then people go, Dave, you're not drinking, you're not smoking, you're not taking drugs or whatever, or you're not scared of the spider that's just run across the room. Dave can go, well, you see what it is. And this avoids anyone being able to say, why didn't you do it sooner? If they say, why didn't you do it sooner? He can go, well, I'd not heard about this therapist, but I had this therapist recommended to me. I didn't really believe in all that nonsense, but I went, and now I'm not scared of it. I wish I'd done it earlier. And then there's nowhere for his friends and family or strangers to go in terms of attacking him. So by going and seeing the therapist, what we do is we provide a safe environment when the person's ready for change that removes all self-blame, shame, guilt and regret from them for not having got off their fanny, we say in America, don't we? Backside, bottom, arse, whatever, and having done it for themselves anyway. They were always capable of doing it, hence that saying, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis.
Yes.
But they needed an excuse and a motivation. But more importantly, they needed a context where when they walk away, they're not just safe in our office as the therapist, but when they walk away, they feel safe, because when people go, why didn't you do it sooner if it was that easy? They've got the perfect cover story, reasoning, call it what you will. Obviously, we don't tell the client that directly because they want to, cognitive dissonance, if you want, they want to believe they've had to go through this important seeming ritualistic process to get to that end result. But ultimately, it's all placebo. But placebo is not the negative thing some people make out.
No.
Does it matter how the job gets done as long as the person's life's improved?
Exactly. No, it makes perfect sense. And I like the way that you explain your three possible outcomes with a person who's been on stage and has been, quote unquote, not hypnotized necessarily, because it really does make sense.
They all lead to them. They all lead to them being in an environment where the people who don't feel comfortable in that environment once they get up, the so-called people who are not hypnotized, they're actually people who just suddenly decide, actually, this isn't for me tonight. So they end up getting sent back. The others who like the applause and the laughter remain on stage.
Yes.
And that's good, because in that context, that makes them feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished and valued. Basic human needs that sadly most human beings don't get as much of on a daily basis. So that gives them an escapism, safe environment where they can blame it all on the hypnotist and yet feel good.
Right. Well, and not only that, but you also have an element of people, I imagine, that are people pleasers. So they aim to do a good job. They want to, they don't want to let the hypnotist down on stage.
Plus,
and
any authority figure. Yeah.
Yes, any authority figure. It makes a lot of sense. I like that, and that's one of the reasons for myself, because I think a lot of people give the hypnotist so much power. When they come into the office, they give you the power. They say, fix me. I'll just lay here and let you fix me. And that was one of the things, because I originally got into this business myself because I wanted to create a library of hypnosis recordings, but then I did go ahead and go through the whole clinical hypnotherapy with people, which I still do, and I still enjoy it. But I really got into this business because I'm into self-empowerment. So I've always been doing personal growth on myself, and I wanted to just be a guide and pass that along to others. And when people become a little bit too like, all right, where's your magic wand? Where's your magic fairy dust? You're kind of giving me a little bit too much power. All the power is within you. If you find value in this personal growth related material, I strongly recommend that you sign up for your $1 trial to my Personal Growth Club. Just head on over to personalgrowthclub.com and get a whole month of premium Personal Growth Club video training materials, meditations. You also get 6 free hypnosis sessions that are valued at over $174, all for this trial of just $1. Even if you cancel, you can keep the 6 hypnosis sessions. That's my gift to you, and that's how confident I am that you are going to love Personal Growth Club. Go to personalgrowthclub.com and start your $1 1-month trial today.
The thing is, I think that it's good for us to have that power, because I think the biggest reason self-help books, whether it's self-hypnosis, EFT, it doesn't matter what title you give it, anything that's personal development, self-help, is a multi-billion-pound industry worldwide. Shed loads of these books and DVDs sell. So why isn't the world a far less stressed place? It's because, unfortunately, people end up buying book after book. And they shouldn't need to if it worked. But I believe it comes back to what I said before. If they may make those changes pretty rapidly, a lot of them. But then when their family and friends notice it and go, if it was that easy, why didn't you do it sooner? That kicks in the self-sabotage at an unconscious level of, I feel bad now. I want to feel loved, wanted and all that, needed, appreciated, cared for. But people that I was hoping to get that from are now saying, you're an idiot, why didn't you do this sooner? So they self-sabotage and stop achieving those things so that they can feel safe again, and the people can go, oh, it's a shame. It's a shame it didn't work out for you. Whereas when they see a therapist directly that's got more perceived credibility to an outsider than just reading a book, they've got that protection cloak of, well, this is why I've made the changes. These experts help me do it, because we've got that perceived credibility of being like a doctor. And I know we're not, but that's how the layperson may look at it. So they don't get attacked in the same way. And the same with the law of attraction. You must have encountered it yourself, because this is something you're particularly clued up on. I believe from my experiences and studies of law of attraction, that a lot of people do start to get results. And they start to notice them and see if they, years ago when it was the secret hype, but years even before that, it was, something before that. They would start to get results, but then they'd be excited about it and they'd tell the friends, and the friends would laugh at it or poo-poo it. And that would make them feel bad, so then they would doubt themselves.
Yes.
And that's why then it apparently stopped working for them, because they, to protect themselves, stopped being in the state of mind of believing, because they were getting told that's daft by the friends. And I think it's very much the same thing in the therapy world.
I absolutely agree with that. And, when it comes to law of attraction, it's very much relying on the reticular activating system in a lot of ways to just continue to validate more and more positive experiences. I mean, you can change your whole life around just based on what you're focused on, and that's common sense. And more thoughts are going to attract, more and more positive thoughts are going to attract more and more positive thoughts. It's conditioning the brain to tame those 70,000 thoughts that are coming at you on a daily basis to be more oriented toward the things that you desire to achieve and that you want. So, and it's, I always kind of laugh a little bit at people who don't believe in it. It's like, well, what is the harm? What is the harm in focusing on what you want? I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
The trouble is when there are, sadly, in every industry, there's some people who push it too far in false claims. I mean, the idea that, focusing, manifesting in the right way, the idea that you're going to win the lottery,
right,
is unlikely to happen.
Yes.
It's definitely not if you don't buy a ticket.
Definitely if you don't buy a ticket, yes.
Which sounds ridiculous, but I've encountered people in life who mourn, they go, I've looked at these self-help books and all, and it is literally like the old joke. Well, did you buy a ticket? Or in a less ridiculous manner, did you actually go and get a book on that thing that you wanted to look into doing and perhaps start as a new opportunity? Well, no, I didn't. Well, it's not going to happen. You do actually have to take some action yourself as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure where that got lost in translation, because pretty much any theory that ever talks about law of attraction, it does talk about taking inspired action at some level. It may not be at the forefront. A lot of the law of attraction teachers talk a little bit more about vibration and energy and things like that, but you're still going to have to open the door. You're still going to have to pay attention to what your gut is telling you that you need to take action on. You're still going to need to do
it's got
something.
very commercialized, hasn't it?
Yes.
With a lot of people in recent years. If we go back to the old text, like I'm having a brain block moment. Charles Hannay, the Master Key.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
We go back to that, and he clearly talks about you've got to take action on this.
Yes.
It's not just think it and it's going to happen. You've got to think it and also do something as well.
He's a master key. He wrote the Master Key.
That's right, the Master Key, Charles Hannay, I believe, yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about your unique way of helping people to tap into the power of their mind.
Okay, I do a thing called complete mind therapy, and the truth is there's nothing new about it whatsoever, other than the name. Although that's not new, because I've had that copyrighted for 25 years.
Repeat the name of that again.
Complete mind therapy.
Complete mind therapy.
And the reason I came up with that is because it tells them what it is. It's therapy of the mind, and the word complete at the minute is a suggestion that there's nothing missing. So therefore it must be the best option. It was to stand out from, there were way too many hypnotherapists in the 90s in Manchester, so I came up with a different name. Now, the actual what I do, yes, I have come up with a structure that's unique to me, but no separate element is new. Each element you can find in books going back to mesmerism days. All I've done is put them in a certain order. So I get people who imagine a television set, for example, with an image of how they once were in the past when it used to bother them, worry them or concern them. And then they turn down the volume and the sound and the contrast, which is your submodalities from NLP, turning them down. And I get them to imagine unplugging the television, removing all power. So all that power is now gone, embedded command, gone completely.
Ooh, I like the unplugging part.
Then I get them to destroy it in a way that feels right for you. Just imagine perhaps setting it on fire, blowing it up, getting a chainsaw, whatever feels right for you. Imagine destroying it right now. So they totally go through this action in the mind of destroying all the negative feelings, thoughts, emotions, and connections of that once used to bother them in the past. Then we go through certain processes in their mind's eye where they imagine a kind of like measuring stick, like a thermometer, with mercury going from 0 to 100. Except this is a measuring stick that shows their levels of self-confidence, self-esteem, self-image, self-control, aka willpower, and feeling really good inside. Now, clearly, because you had this issue until you came into the office today, that was quite low. We want it to be 100% so it can never bother you as it once did in the past. So imagine in your mind's eye, heating up that mercury in a way that feels right for you, and just see it rising now. And we get them to rise it all the way up to 100%. And imagine in the mind's eye in a way that feels right for them, either staple gunning it, gluing it, stapling it, hammering it in with a nail, it doesn't matter. So they're locking, gluing, welding, cementing it in place at 100%, so it can never drop below that, so they know they've got within them whatever they need to draw upon as an automatic reflex action, whenever they need to continue as the confident, happy, healthy, relaxed non-smoker, or person who feels comfortable around spiders, whatever. You can fill in the blank at the end. It works for everything. And then I get them future pacing, they call it in NLP, to see a full-length mirror. And you see an image of themselves 6 months, 12 months from now. And the spider runs across the room and they're dead calm and they laugh. Or they're at a party being offered a drink where they used to then want a cigarette and they go, no, thank you, I don't smoke. And they look at themselves and notice how good they feel inside, how proud they feel, how great it is to see an image of themselves, healthy, happy. And we go through all this, and then we get them to walk into the magic mirror, put it on like a suit of armour, so it's like parts integration therapy as well. They're just some of the elements. There's another 6 elements. So it incorporates parts therapy, future pacing. It incorporates about 12 different therapies in one session. And that's why I'm confident to give people a full money-back guarantee when they come for a therapy session. And I see them in one session for anything.
And you fix whatever is wrong in one session, guaranteed.
Drug addicts, I've done the bloody lot. I've had to give 2 refunds in 30 years.
Oh, that is amazing. That is great work. And so
I don't think, but I'm not, that's not my work. You see, the thing is this, what I put together I think is really good. And if you believe that the processes are what are doing it, then yeah, I believe complete mind therapy is genius. And that sounds big-headed, but I've got thousands of students around the world who've used it with thousands of people. But actually, I don't believe that's truly why it works. I believe that those people I've taught it to may have been given confidence by this wonderful process to go out there and have the confidence to transmit to their clients that it will work. But I believe what really helped it work was their confidence transmitted to the client and creating that safe environment and giving the client the environment where they felt they were truly ready for change.
I love that. So there's 12 pieces to your complete mind.
Oh, at least 12. There's at least 12 elements. I mean, you broke it all down. There's hundreds of elements. I mean, it's got embedded commands in it. You know, like when you pull the television out of the wall, you're taking control. You're removing the power. It can no longer have any power over you. That's an embedded metaphor and command. There's magic stories in there. There's nested... And it's all within like a 45-minute therapy session. And, you know, anyone who wants to look into that further, I don't want to take any money off you, free of charge. Just go on magicalguru.com, click on my therapy page, and have a look at the virtual hypnotherapy session that's on there.
So it's called Magical Theory?
Magical Guru, magicalguru.com.
Magicalguru.com.
And then click on the therapy page, and there's a video there where I do this session you can interact with for free online. If clients contact me now and say, I want to come and spend, $1,000 with you, which is my minimum charge, I say, do this session first. 9 times out of 10, it's going to work for you, and you won't need to spend a penny with me or any other therapist.
That is a great service. That is a great service that you provide. How long would a person say that they went to magicalguru.com and they went through that, but then they decided, okay, well, I really want to work with you. And how long would they plan to spend with you in that session? Do you have a particular amount of time that it takes to go through that whole complete process?
If people actually ended up coming to me in person, which does happen sometimes but to be honest, these days it tends to happen with people what I call high-end issues. Now, That's no disrespect to smokers, people who want to lose weight, overcome phobias, but by high-end issues. I'm using that in the terms of how they use it in psychiatry and psychology. I mean sexual abuse victims, or traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
What they term as high-end things. Those are the people I end up in front of these days.
Okay.
And with them, I say I will be with them for one session. And they pay me for one session, but when they book, I tell them, I might be with you as little as 10 minutes. I might be with you all day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're coming to me at 10 a.m. in the morning, but don't plan on leaving till 4 in the afternoon.
So does that mean you would only book one session in a day just because that person could need all day?
Yeah.
Okay.
No offense to, I'm going to use the phrase vast majority, but the truth of the matter is the vast majority of hypnotherapists out there, if they push their bravado aside, and the irony of it is that a lot of the people who brag, if you go and search, in England we have a thing called Companies House, which is where limited companies are registered. That in America would be what they call incorporated companies, I think, corporations and stuff.
Okay.
It's for tax liability and all that. But it's dead easy to find out actually what people are earning. It might cost you a couple of dollars but it's publicly available information. And I'm not going to mention names, but if you suspect that a famous name hypnotherapist in any country in the world, or life coach or such, is making thousands upon thousands of pounds per day, 5 days or more a week, go and check Companies House or the equivalent in America, where they incorporate companies, and check out their company. And look at the profit and loss account. And it isn't what it appears. You know, where these people make their money, and I know because I coach a lot of them, famous name, and I can't say their names out loud legally, but what I can do is say that if you go on my website, I mentioned earlier, and click where it says testimonials, you will see testimonials from people who are famous on television around the world. So I'm not allowed to name them, but I am allowed to publish their testimonial. Such is the law. But if you go and look, you'll see people you recognise, and I can tell you now, these people do not make their money from seeing clients sat in front of them one-to-one. They make their money from selling books, video programs, appearing on TV shows, merchandising. That is where the money is, not in seeing clients one-to-one. Right.
But is there a... And, you know, with all due respect, I make most of I don't make my money from seeing clients either. I see most of my money I make is through, you know, my other body of work, my recordings and things like that.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
The intelligent thing, there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is there's people out there who portray the public perception.
Okay.
That they are seeing X amount of clients a week, and that's how they're making their money and living this lifestyle. And with a little tiny little bit of digging, you can see that's bullshit. The truth is, they're making the money through merchandising, but they're living this false pretense. Why not just be honest and go, look, I'm now helping thousands more people through these, you know, books and this, that, the other, and media stuff. But sadly, there's a lot of people out there misleading.
Honesty is definitely the best policy. So we want to be transparent and authentic as much as we can. So how would a person, other than your magicalguru.com site, is that pretty much the best way to reach you, or do you have
that's the portal, or you could literally, if you go on Amazon anywhere in the world and type in Jonathan Royle, you'll find my books and DVDs. Go on eBay, type in Jonathan Royle. I dominate them both and have done for 30 years. Yeah. But just be aware, you will see a lot of very nasty things said about me. But, you know, magnets have positive and negative sides. And as much as you can put positive out into the world, sadly, you know, the more positive you are out, the more you will attract negativity as well.
Hello, this is Victoria Gallagher. I hope you're enjoying listening to the Power of Your Mind podcast. As a way of thanking you for listening, I'd like to offer you a one-time discount of 35% off your first order at hypnotic.com. Just go to hypnotic.com and enter the code PODCAST in the discount code area in your cart, and you'll receive 35% off your first order. Thank you so much for listening to the Power of Your Mind podcast. I always believe that there's a positive side to everyone and a negative side to everyone. I always try to look for the positive in everyone, and I think it's a good policy to live by. And if you're looking for things to be wrong with someone, you'll find it. But if you're looking for things to be good with somebody, you'll find that too. It all just depends on what you're looking for.
None of us are perfect. And like I said earlier, in the early 90s, when I was 17, when I was mainly doing stage hypnosis, but I was doing some therapy, but I did, saying it now, like we said before, now it's like, oh, that's no big deal. But back then, it was a big deal. So in that context at that time, it was a big deal. So it got blown up by the media. And now people still take those press articles that are blown out of proportion and go, oh, you did this, you did that. Even though the reality of what went on is not that bad in this day and age, because the press writing up that a man apparently was giving birth to a baby, but then they write it in a way that conjures up an image in people's heads that the bloke's got no clothes on and he's being obscene. Well, no, he's fully clothed at all times.
Right.
And, this is something like you said earlier, Vegas hypnotists are doing it now, and it's completely, it's even happened on family hypnosis shows these days. Things move on, but stuff, once it's in the media, people bring it up again. So there's a lot of, I wouldn't say it's necessarily disinformation. It's just out of context now.
That is correct. And there's so much of that happens where even, just the opposite, where things that, so things that were pretty upsetting years ago today are perfectly acceptable. Also, the opposite is true as well. Things that used to be perfectly acceptable years ago, or that we were just ignorant to years ago, now these days are very upsetting. And so people will pull up things from people's past that used to be acceptable, and then point out what used to not be, things like that. So it's people, if we get hung up on the negative or whatever, if we get hung up on that, what we have to realize is that things are always evolving, they're always changing, and people change, circumstances change. People are always, I believe, and just as you do a lot of NLP, I'm sure you are very familiar with all the precepts, that people are always doing their best. They're always doing the best that they can do with their present level of awareness that they have. And I completely believe that. I always subscribe to that. I always really try to, I don't practice at 100% perfect all the time. I will have my moments every now and again, but I really do try to see the best in everyone. Even if they're quote unquote a really bad person,
in psychology, they talk about, crikey, I've had a mental, not mirroring as in mirroring and matching, reflection. I've had a mental block, but I'm going to say mirroring, and that isn't the word, so I'm saying that up front. But that concept that what can annoy us most when we look at an individual and we go, oh, we don't particularly like a behaviour pattern or
the meta models.
It's because it can be reflected to us, the things that we know deep down unconsciously, we need to pay attention to ourselves.
Oh, like the shadow, are you talking about the shadow work, the disassociated self and things like that?
You can see it reflected to you from the person in front. And quite often there can be elements of that when then people then get on the defensive and go, well, it's easier to attack that person than face up to the fact that actually maybe that's something I need to address within myself. But none of us are perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. It's a construct. I think the nearest we can get to perfection, which is an impossible dream, because how would we ever know what that was? Because who decides what perfection is anyway, other than ourselves?
And perfection is going to change from day to day, moment to moment.
Exactly. But I think if you live by the Magna Carta, which laid out basically predated normal laws, and it basically said, paraphrase, don't do anything to physically, emotionally, spiritually, or in any other way harm your fellow human being. And if people did, and sadly we don't live in that perfect world, but if people could live on a basis where before they did things they considered and made sure it wouldn't negatively, physically, emotionally, spiritually, or in any other way impact other people in a way that would harm them, then how? We things would change so massively.
They would. However, it's kind of unrealistic even to live like that, because sometimes you don't even know that how you're being, if you're living your authentic, true self, you may not realize that what you're saying to somebody maybe offends somebody. You may do it unintentionally, is what I'm saying, because we all have our different levels of sensitivities and beliefs and values and self-awareness. And so we may say things to other people or do things that other people may not agree with and feel hurt by.
Mm-hmm. And there is that other danger. Sadly, if everyone wants to think the same way in that regard, there's that danger that things could move into the area where people almost became like robots, in the sense of everyone will kind of, on other elements, it'd go out that they'd end up thinking and doing the same. And then how would you actually know when you were truly happy if you had nothing negative to compare it to?
So true. It's so true. And people have this expectation that they should be happy all the time. And so when they get disappointed, they're even more disappointed, because not only are they disappointed about whatever they're disappointed about, but they're disappointed because they should be happy all the time.
And yet how would they know when they're happy if they hadn't had some sense of disappointment to be able to contrast it to? And that's the paradox of it.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. And it just requires constant self-awareness and communication with yourself and with others. Because all of these hurts and these upsets and things, I mean, and again, we're not going to avoid the pain that just comes with living, but at least we could probably understand it better, and we can understand each other and the intentions behind things a little bit better, because we make assumptions, we make judgments, about other people's intentions, and that hurts us even more. So we are not going to be able to avoid getting hurt and feeling pain and the disappointment that comes with that, but we could avoid what we're making up about the reasons why.
Yeah. Personally, I think pain is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I would wish anyone to go through any pain emotionally or physically, but if it has to happen and it happens, sadly, the self-help industry quite often go, There's no such thing as failure, only results on the path to ultimate success. Bleep. I bleep myself out there rather than swearing. No, there is failure. I've been asked in the past, one thing I do brag about, I have bragged about, I'm proud of it, is that I'm 44 as we speak right now, 44 years old. Before I was 30 years of age, I walked into a building with a briefcase, and I opened it up, and it was full of £50 notes, and I paid outright in cash for, at the time, the 2-bedroom apartment I was living in. I don't live there now, that's rented out. I now live in a house and I'm getting a rental income. But I literally did that. I'd set myself a goal by the time I was 30, I'd go and buy a property outright for cash, and I literally did. And it was 2 weeks before my 30th birthday, and I went in with the case, and I went, I've come to buy my property, and they opened the case, and they went and they got everyone else out of the building and locked up.
No mortgage or anything, just go in there with
outright for cash. No mortgages, no loans, did it. All paid for through hypnosis. However, I get asked, how did you do that? Because, I get on the internet, there's people saying that never happened. But if you go on my Facebook, facebook.com/Alex the Hypnotist, Alex William Smith, in my photo albums there are copies of, with the reference numbers on that people can check, the land registry documents from England proving that I bought that property outright for cash. No mortgages, no loans. Anyway, that's by the by. The point is, I was relatively successful before the age of 30. And I got asked by people, how did you do that? And genuinely to this day, and this can sound glib, but in the context of what we spoke about before, I managed to do that by, I don't want to swear, so rather than using the F word, I'll say screwing. By screwing up a hell of a lot of things, a hell of a lot of times, and then picking myself up and carrying on. Even though there were still people there laughing at me having screwed up at that, I carried on. And I got knocked down again, and I carried on. And failure, NLP, it's just a signpost on the path to ultimate success. Bullshit. No, what it is a pain. It hurts. It makes you cry on your own. It makes you think, what did I do wrong? If that pain, when that pain, if you're going to have pain in your life, I hope it's a massive one, but that you're physically and emotionally okay after it, that it's massive enough that it actually proves to be the motivating thing to make you change. The sad thing is, you'd think human beings would do things to move towards pleasure, but they don't. Opportunities can be in front of them, and it only takes a bit of effort, and they do nothing. And then they end up made bankrupt, as I was in my early 20s, and had to recover from that. Or something happens, and they go, oh my God, I've not got my job, what do I do? And then suddenly they find the time to do that opportunity they could have done previously. People actually act more to avoid pain, further pain, than they do to achieve pleasure.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. That away from motivation.
Yeah. So pain, it's not a result on the path to success. What it should be, if it's a big enough pain, then it'll give you that firework up the backside to actually do those things that you could have already done right now.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense what you're saying, because when you hear about the stories of the highly successful, highly wealthy people that went from rags to riches, well, they didn't go from rags to riches overnight. No. They went from rags to worse rags to even worse rags after picking themselves up, dusting themselves off multiple times. And they just had the persistence, at least, to continue to pick themselves up and dust themselves off, failure after failure. I mean, look at Edison, one of the perfect prime examples. 10,000 ways that didn't work. How many people do that? How many people are willing to put themselves out there over and over and over and over and over again to find a way that works, to continue pushing through? Failure
and yet,
after
really
failure.
scaringly, the really scary thing is that if they did keep doing that, they would achieve massive things. And yet, so many people who have got so much potential will take that energy to come up with 10,000 reasons why they can't make a tiny little change to get a step further to that fulfilling their full potential, which
Yes.
is really sad.
There's so much potential inside, and Marianne Williamson made that quote about, it's not our darkness that scares us. It's all of, and I don't remember the exact word she used, but it's our full potential that actually scares us.
Most people are scared. Exactly. You know what? If I'm truthful, I'm probably still scared on some level of that. But I certainly was. In my teenage years when suddenly I had all this success and I was doing TV shows around the world and I was working anywhere between 7 to 14 hypnosis shows a week in the evenings and seeing therapy clients, and then going out in London celebrity haunts like Stringfellows, which in the 90s was a much bigger deal than it is now, and got into that whole celebrity culture thing. It was escapism, because I thought, well, this is too blinking easy. And it seemed that I wasn't making a massive effort. So it was like, I knew within myself, what could I do if I made more of an effort? But then I was scared because I already got caught into that culture of drink, drugs, rock and roll, and all this, that, the other. I've grown up now.
Yeah.
I'm slagging myself up, but the old me was but we all have that with us, and that's why I don't agree with it entirely, but in some circumstances I do believe that, like inner child therapy, getting someone, even if it is only metaphorically, to find the inner them and give them the reassurance they could have done with it at that age, so that then their unconscious mind can put that to bed so they can move on, can be very therapeutic sometimes.
Absolutely. No, it absolutely can. Well, just want to thank you so much. It's been a lovely conversation. I want to just thank you again for jumping on at the last minute. That was really helpful to me, and it was really just stepping out and doing something that maybe, I don't know if you normally do that, but I think that anytime there's an opportunity in front of us, more you can just jump on it. Ultimately, good things can come. So hopefully good things will come for my guests, for you, out of listening to Power of Your Mind podcast. I want to thank you so much for being a guest today.
Thank you, Victoria. Good luck with your new book.
Thank you so much.
I've heard very good things. I have got it on order, especially after I saw that Richard Nongard had recommended it, because I've known Richard for a number of years. And if he says something's good, that tells me in advance it is.
Thank you so much. Yeah, just for our podcast listeners, my colleague Richard Nongard and I were at a hypnosis conference in the Mid-America just last week, and he was the keynote speaker. And during the keynote address, and this was an opportune time right before I was about to give my 2-hour class on manifest success with Law of Attraction, he holds up my book and tells 200 people about how wonderful my book is. So that was a shout out here to Richard Nongard for doing that for me. I feel so blessed to have that relationship. And so I want to encourage you guys to go ahead and stop by magicalguru.com and check out Jonathan Royle's session that you can do totally for free. And it's apparently a miracle session that will pretty much Let's don't use the word miracle. Not a miracle.
The only miracles that exist are in your mind as the user. If you're ready for change, then the miracles will happen for you.
I want to reiterate to say it just like that just like you said it.
Yeah.
Yes. The miracles are within you. If you are ready for that change, the miracles can happen by going to magicalguru.com. So thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the Power of Your Mind podcast. Thank you once again for listening to the Power of Your Mind podcast. This is Victoria Gallagher. Be sure to stop by hypnotic.com and sign up for your free self-hypnosis video training course. And for our listeners who found us through the Power of Your Mind podcast, you can get 35% off your first order of hypnosis downloads when you apply the code podcast to your shopping cart. Also, be sure to watch for and download our latest HypnoCloud app in the iTunes store. Now, if you really want to experience my book, Practical Law of Attraction, live and in person, and integrate the concepts deeply into your being and make a profound change in your life success, then I highly encourage you to go to victoriamgallagher.com, where you will find information about my Law of Attraction intensive that's coming up in Toronto, Canada, as well as London, England, and Sydney, Australia. Or you can just Google search Law of Attraction Intensive and find out where I am. It's a 2 full-day intensive workshop where we do a lot of inner work on breaking through your limiting beliefs, raising your energy vibration so that you can attract more of what you want in your life. It's an amazing life-transforming experience. And I'll be doing the next one, Toronto, Canada, October 27th and 28th. Which is a Sunday and Monday. Then London, England on November 16th and 17th, which is a Saturday and Sunday. And then in Sydney, Australia, March 21st and 22nd, which is also on a Saturday and Sunday. Seating is limited, so be sure to sign up right away and change your life for the better. Once again, I'm Victoria Gallagher from Power of Your Mind podcast. Tune in to new episodes each and every week where we will bring you tools, techniques, and strategies based on meditation, hypnosis, affirmations, and law of attraction. Thanks again for listening, and tune in next week and every week to the Power of Your Mind podcast. Bye for now. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with your friends. And once again, be sure to subscribe to the Power of Your Mind podcast if not already. We can be found as HypTalk on all our social media accounts, so like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, and sign up for your free self-hypnosis video training course at hypnotic.com. Be sure to subscribe to the Power of Your Mind podcast, and you'll be instantly notified the moment the next podcast becomes available. Also, please be sure to leave a rating and a review to tell us how you're enjoying these episodes, and that way you're making a contribution toward others getting to share in this valuable information. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. You've been listening to the Power of Your Mind podcast, brought to you by hypnotic.com, Personal Growth Club, and HypnoCloud apps available at iTunes.